All right, so here's another pre-calculus problem of the day. So this one's looking at graphs from section 2.3 in our Stewart textbook. And so we have a graph here. The red line is going to be your f of x graph, and then your blue line is going to be the g of x graph. And so we want to answer different questions, kind of comparing um, f of x and g of x. So the first one says which is larger, f of 0 or g of 0. And here, when we're talking about larger in terms of functions and graphs, typically we just mean which one is higher on the graph than the other. And so we need to find f of 0. So f of 0 is going to be right here. So here's the x is 0, so find where the function touches at x equals 0. And you can see that f of 0 is going to be 3. f of 0 f of 0 equals 3. And then g of 0 is going to be right down here. And so we'll estimate, doesn't really matter exactly what the value is, but we'll estimate it is about, oh, messed up again there, is 1/2, we'll say. So which is larger, f of 0 or g of 0? That would be f of 0. All right, which is larger, f of 3 or g of 3? And we'll do the same thing. So here's x is 3. And so we can see that f of 3 is a little under 1. We'll just say it's 1. We'll say f of 3 is 1. And g of 3 is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4. G of 3 is 4. All right, so here g of 3 is more. Now, it actually doesn't matter what those values are. You don't even really need to worry about it. All you need really is to see that here f is above g, so f is going to be larger than g. Here g is above f, so g will be larger than f. So it doesn't even matter what the values are. Um, Now, for part C, for which values of x is f of x equal to g of x? So here we just need to find where they cross, and we're looking for the values of x. So they cross here and here, and so that would be at x equals -2 and x equals 2. And so they cross there. You're just looking for wherever those two lines intersect. And that's all there is to that. Now, for which values of x is f of x less than or equal to g of x? Now we're looking for where is f of x below or under g of x, or crosses. So we're going to include these two values in this answer. Since we have these closed circles, that indicates that the graph does stop. So sometimes you might see a graph that will go to the end of the picture and you don't have any kind of circle. It just goes to the end and then that stops because the picture ends. In those cases, you can assume that the graph continues. But where the graph obviously ends before the picture ends, before the grid ends, you can assume that the graph is ending there. So we're ending at -4. We're basically going from -4 up to 4. So f of x being the red line is going to be below g here all the way up till it crosses at -2. So we will include -4 since we had the closed circles. So that indicates the -4 is part of the graph. So -4 up to -2. And then since, whoops, I did that at the wrong part. Let's undo that. It should be down here. So -4 up to -2. Since we do have the equal part, we're going to include the -2. And then union, and then all this part here, f is above g, so f is going to be greater than g. And then at +2, it crosses again. So we're going to start at +2 and then go the rest of the way, f is less than g. And so, and actually, g stops at 3. So we don't need to include anything here because it's kind of irrelevant. We don't, if g does anything, which we're not giving any information, but it is possible that g could jump way down here. And so we don't know after 3 is g of x above f or not, because g apparently doesn't exist after that. So we're going to stop at 3, and we are going to include 3 because again, well, not because of the equal there, but because 3 is part of the domain. So of both. So when we're looking for where is one function above the other, they both functions need to exist in order to make that determination. So in this case, G stops at 3, so we don't need to include that. Well, we don't need to include anything after that, even though F continues out to x equals 4. Don't need to include anything in that interval. Then for part E, where it says f of x greater than G, then we just need to do the opposite. So now where is f above? And so that's obviously going to be between -2 and 2. This time we're not including the equal part, strictly greater than. So we're going to use parentheses. So that would be -2 to 2 in parentheses. Now, just to be clear, that's not an ordered pair. These are not, and typically when you have brackets, it's obvious it's not an ordered pair. But um, just to be clear, the parentheses here is not an ordered pair. This is an interval. So it's all the x values in between -2 and 2, not including -2 and 2. So that's fairly basic stuff on graphs. Definitely things that you need to be comfortable doing. You need to be able to tell where a function is bigger or smaller than another function. And then as we go along, we'll get into more complex things. So if you have any questions or comments, you can leave them. If you want me to do any other problems, you can leave those in the comments as well, or send me an email if you got it.